Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Sound Horizons podcast. Blah, blah, blah. Transition, waste your time. Hey, we're glad you're here. Today's guest is someone you all know. You can pretend like you don't. If you pretend that you don't, you're just trying to be cool for whoever that meddler guy is standing next to you, and that's fine. But everybody knows who today's guest is. We know who today's guest is, and we're excited. We appreciate his time. I'm going to stop talking, even though I know you'll continue listening if I keep you baited on and bringing you in. But today's guest is none other than your friend and mine, everybody's favorite guitar player. Please welcome my friend and yours, Phil Collen from Def Leppard. Dun,
hey,
dun, dun.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Really good, thanks. Yeah.
So here's the thing. When preparing to talk to someone of your stature, and I mean that in the sweetest and nicest way, I think to myself, here's a guy who's been asked every single question that could possibly be asked by every interviewer throughout his tenure as Phil Collen from Def Leppard. So where do I get good questions and what do we talk about that's new and exciting? So here's what I thought, and you tell me if you're in for this. So,
okay.
And I mean this is, first of all, I'm waiting to hear the crowd. I can hear the angry typing in a minute. What I don't want to talk about is anything Hysteria related. And now all the trolls. And what I don't want to talk about is Mutt Lange and crazy recording. I don't want to talk about any of the things that have beaten to the ground. But
okay, sounds good.
I want to start by asking you some questions about one of my favorite Def Leppard records that doesn't get talked about a lot, which is the Slang Record. I love that record.
Me too.
And that, my understanding is that was a very unique transition for you guys as well, because that was one of the first, if not the first record you guys kind of co-produced as a band. Am I correct there?
I guess so. You know, we just done 4 albums with Mutt. I mean, they'd done High and Dry before I was in the band, and there was Pyromania, Hysteria, and Adrenalize that Mutt was very heavily involved. He basically produced that as well, but he wasn't there the whole time. So, yeah, this was the next one after that. And, you know, so much has happened in music. You know, you had the whole alternative grunge thing happen. And it was just time to do something different. We just done 3 albums of a trilogy, if you like. You know, they were all of an ilk. And Slang was completely different. You know, we didn't overdo it with the writing and we didn't overdo it with the backing vocals and stuff like that. It was very much write the song, record it, and here we go. So it was great fun to do, I've got to say.
Was there a conscious effort, and you kind of alluded to this, made to not do sort of I don't even know what's good, like the standard Def Leppard, like what you guys had made famous on Pyromania and Hysteria? I mean, you had a sound that seemed to be where you were, and Slang. I mean, again, it's why it's one of my favorite records. It's like this evolution, almost like an anti-Def Leppard record by Def Leppard at the time.
Absolutely. I think it was time to do something different. You know, we'd had, like I said, these 3 albums that were of an ilk. You know, they sound like, and the landscape had changed, and it wasn't us like jumping ship, and we wanted to do something very different. You know, our favorite artists, you know, Queen, Zeppelin, the Beatles, you know, the Stones, everyone would do these albums that were radically different at a certain point, and this was our version of that, basically.
Did you get any pushback from your label about not only the direction but not using Mutt again? Was that a bone of contention for them, or were they okay?
Yes and no, because they knew that if we were going to do stuff with Mutt, that it would probably take a while, and that paranoia kind of outweighed anything else. So I think they were a little disappointed because it was an album for us, you know. It wasn't kind of, not that we were doing just for commercial kind of reasons, but you know, you would hear say Adrenalize, and it kind of had a commercial appeal to it, and we wasn't being anti-commercial, but we were just kind of just approaching it different, and it was just wonderful to do that. You know, when the Stones, I guess when they did Exile on Main Street, which isn't my favorite Stones album, I love some of the stuff on it. I think that it would have made a great single album, but they needed to change. And, you know, same deal with the Beatles and Queen famously, you know, they'd kind of created a sound, got to it, attained it, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, so what do we do now? Let's not repeat ourselves. So I think that was really good to clear everything out, clear the pipes out, whatever you want to call it. You know, it was a way to just approach it in a different way, and very important for us, and with us moving forward to do an album like that.
And one that also marks, if I'm correct, the first recorded performances as a band member of Vivian Campbell, right? I mean, this is the first record with him on there. So it's a whole, it has its own, like you said, texture, its own flavor, its own sound, and that's clearly purposeful. So did you find as a guitar player that had been doing things, like you said, for this sort of last decade a certain way in the studio, coming into this fresh, with fresh ears, did you consciously think to yourself, I need to change the way I play, I need to change the way I sound, or was it more organic for you?
Way organic. Didn't have to do anything, just let it do its thing. And I think that was it. I think you didn't have to second guess stuff. You didn't have to go, well, is this right? I mean, we've learned from what we learned from that album, actually, when we record stuff now, like Diamond Star Halos, was we didn't really know we was recording an album, and me and Joe Elliott were passing files to each other and play, you know, write text with lyrics on it and stuff. Like, he was in Dublin, I was in California, and we would literally go, what do you think of this? And it wasn't really we were recording an album. It's just like we realized we were actually kind of honoring our heroes and the people that got us into music, you know, the Bowie and the T-Rex and all of that stuff, the Queens, and that's really what happened. So it was a very different approach and reason for doing it. And I think that the Slang album was like that. The reason for doing it was for us. And we wanted it. It was a very personal approach. And that's what we do now, you know, the new single, Just Like 73, which was kind of, we started it while we were doing Diamond Star Hate. We were just finishing it. It wasn't quite ready. So that's why that came out now. But yeah, it's done for a different reason. And I think you have to please yourself as well, which we did. You know, we were on a journey with all the stuff that Mutt was doing. He's just the most amazing teacher and everything. So you would go, well, it pushed the boat out. Let's try this. No one's done this before. So that was Wild West. And, you know, after 3 albums like that, it was definitely time to do something a bit different.
Well, and I think people forget too. I mean, forget about the commercial success of those records. The time frame for those records, you guys were notorious for take a long time to record, then tour even longer, then take a longer time to record and tour longer. It was crazy to see how the Slang record, again, the time frame. There were a couple of, I think there were 2 compilation records in between. Adrenalize and I think the Vault, you know, the label does their whole last thing, like, oh, let's try and get as much money out of the old songs as we can and not pay the artists. So, but then 96, that record comes out, and to your point, this is a very different time. When I look at the stark contrast between Hysteria in 87 and Slang in 96, so much changed in the industry. So you do the Slang record. Of course, it's successful. You have great fans, great songs. You keep moving forward. Is there a point, though, where you all sit down and you're like, okay, we're kind of running out of things to do here. We've toured forever. We've recorded forever. We've been at the top. We've done everything. When do you guys as a band settle into that? This is kind of how we just want it to be from here on out.
Well, it don't. We're always raising the bar, like, you know, like this tour we're doing now. I'm really excited about this because we're doing a stadium. The last 3 tours have been stadium tours. But this is different because we've changed all the content, all the screens, all the giant stuff that's out there. And you go to see, like, say, Taylor Swift or Beyonce and that, it's a very different experience.
Yeah.
So we're trying to put some of that in there. Instead of doing the same old thing with the same content, the same stage show for the last 10 years, basically, we've just kind of changed songs around. This time it's very different. It's going to be very physical. There's a lot more space to fill. And like I said, all the content is very different. The technology's moved in such a way that you have to embrace it. And so we are, and that's what's really exciting. And there's always brand new stuff to do, like even the songs, you know. As I'm with Joe, we were writing a song the other day. We were just trying to work this backing vocal thing out. Same deal. He's in Dublin, I'm in California. And we're just getting really excited about this song and just how these vocals should sound. He's done this lead vocal on the song, and we want to enhance it with these backing vocals, and there's a right way. And many wrong ways to do it. So we think we stumbled on a right way just from being excited about it and just kind of enjoying the process,
Well, to be fair, some of that pressure has to be gone. I mean, I don't think you could record. You couldn't do anything more recorded than you guys have done. So I would think that the need to just experiment, like you said, and be yourselves and be able to do it the way you want to and learn through that's got to be kind of exciting. I see at any point in time.
It's really exciting. I mean, that's really what you want in the first place. You may not realize that, but that's really that's being an artist and being able to do what you want and it being accepted, which is a really tall order for most people in their careers. So it's no, we're really fortunate, I think.
I don't even know how you guys keep track of it, quite honestly. I mean, the shows have always been huge and big, and stadiums. I mean, that's a whole other world. Basically, you're bringing an entire economy with you on the road, like a whole city's worth of people, set up, tear down. It's a very taxing physically and mentally, but every night you guys look like it's the first time you walked out on stage together.
I know.
And it's insane. I mean, that's the highest compliment I can pay you guys. It's like, wow, every night they're fresh. You think, most people, I don't think understand what goes into shows of that size. They think the bigger the show, the easier it gets on the artist. But to your point, when you're playing for 60,000 people at a time, you can't just really stand on a stage and be a dot that doesn't move or have anything that's going to capture anyone's interest.
And funny enough, like and you think that, there's so many moving parts. Like we've toured with Poison for years, many times. And in 22, we've done a US tour and I've known CC DeVille forever and he's great. And he's a really good friend and all this. And it's like, I saw him, he said, how come we don't hang out? I said, because you're a mile away. I had to get on a golf cart to come here today. I saw him like 3 times on the whole tour. And it was like, wow, that was a bummer. You kind of, there's just so much going on.
Yeah.
And it's so far, it makes it so difficult. Whereas before, when we do arenas or something, you'd be in the next room and you could kind of hang or do stuff. So it's a really interesting kind of approach to it.
I think a lot of people know, and this kind of goes into with the touring, you're big in your health. You take care of yourself. Your physical body's important to you. So when you're on the road versus being home, how do you keep staying in shape, right? So everybody knows you as the guitar player from Def Leppard, but most people know you as the guy with his shirt off from Def Leppard. So how do you keep that physical, staying healthy energy in shape now at this point in time in your life on the road?
Well, it's consistency. I mean, when I get off here, I'm probably going to go and work out. And yeah, it's just like doing that every day. And if you don't, it stops working for you. It's like everything else in your practicing, like singing. I have to sing every day. Otherwise, that one goes before anything else. So the body's no different. And when we get on tour, we have our trainer, Jake. He comes out with us, and we literally every single day, he goes, 9 o'clock today, or you 10 o'clock, and everyone does different times. And we all get it in. It's so important because, especially as you get old. I mean, I'm 66 now, but it's like, I feel great. And it's because I keep that going. And yeah, you get the occasional injury. You just have to work around it. You can't go, I'm going to just take it easy, because it'll just stop working before. I know guys that are 20 years younger than me that are almost couch ridden. And it's like, you don't have to do that. So, you eat right and do all the above so that you can carry on running around like a child in giant stadiums. Great.
Well, so for you on that journey, what when you first started that journey, what was harder for you to adapt to, the working out or the diet? Was there one that was maybe a little more like, this is going to take a little more energy or effort, or were they both fairly easy for you?
No, the diet's always. I've been a vegan it's 41 years, like really strict vegetarian, and I went vegan along there, which is basically knocking milk out and milk products. But I never ate eggs. That was years ago. And so I've been that way, but you can still eat junk, and I still love eating French fries and stuff like that. So you have cheat days, but I would love to eat that every single meal, and chips and salsa and all. I mean, I'd love it, but you can't. Indian food, I could just live on that stuff. So you have to kind of watch the temptation, because it shows up and it just stops you being super healthy. So yeah, you got to research it all the time, which I do. It's like, and try and find little ways around it. I mean, I hate saying this, but the best way I've felt going to the toilet and everything else is eating a giant salad every day. You have to do that. I'd rather not, but it's part of the thing. You kind of have to do it. Kind of cleans you out almost. It kind of clears everything. And I drink a gallon of water a day. I've done that for years. And people go, "Why you go to the toilet a lot?" Yeah, I say, "Yeah, because I drink a lot. I'm not like kind of restricted."
Well,
like
exactly.
You. Yeah.
Well, and we live in a weird time in society. There's a lot of misinformation about health. There's a lot of challenges, and you're living in the States now, so here it's like, if you ask 3 different people what's healthy for you, that you're going to get 3 different answers, and all of them will seem to make sense at the time. But have you found your version of everything? I always say that there are certain facts that you can't get away from. This is how a human body works. This is what it needs.
Yeah.
However, everybody's wired differently. You have a different lifestyle. You have a different output. So are you comfortable? I mean, are you settled in, or do you change your diet and your workout routine just to surprise your body still at this point in time?
Yeah, no, I do. My cardio is usually, kickboxing drills. And again, I'm a guitar player. And actually, 2 years ago, I was doing a windmill, a Pete Townsend windmill, and smashed my neck on the guitar, and it chipped some bones, and it's really painful. So you just have to watch stuff like that, and it has to heal. But there's certain things, like processed food is not good for your body, and it will stop it healing. It'll stop it progressing. Drinking sugary sodas and that. Yeah, you can do it. Every now and again, I'll go, I really want a Pepsi or a Coke. And I don't drink them, but it's probably every 3 years I'll go, yeah, I really want one. And it's the Mexican ones are great because they use real sugar. So that's it. But I'll have my fix, and it'll be one drink, and then I'm good for another 3 years. So it's stuff like that. You can still do that. I love eating these Doritos, and there's one that they do there's a vegan one. It's got the
wow.
It's was it spicy chili? Any sweet chili? Love it, absolutely love it. I don't eat it all the time. I wish I could, but you do that. You drink lots of water. You know that this stuff's gonna kill you if that's all you do. Fast food and stuff like that. You see how it affects your body. And I know how I feel after I've eaten a big meal, let alone what it is, and sugary content, processed foods. Well, we know that. It's scientific. It's real. So, you just kind of make the odds in your favor. You kind of balance it out. And occasionally when you're on tour, you're trying to get ready for a tour. I'm in that phase right now where it's kind of a no fun zone. But having said that, I still eat some really great stuff that I make myself, or just have when you go out. You just have to watch what it is. That carbs, different things, breads or sweet potatoes or different versions of breads. They all do different things. So you just got to research it all the time.
So as you get ready for tour after all this time, is it still exciting?
Oh, I'm really looking forward to this one. Like I said, because it's different. So we're going to be, a lot of the same places we played 2 years ago. We obviously went to Australia, Japan, all over Europe, South America last year. But we're back in the States, and some of these stadiums we've played a bunch of times, and they're great. I love playing stadiums, but I'm really looking forward to this because it's going to be different. It's going to look different. It's going to sound different. The technology just keeps improving, so it's going to be insane.
Okay, so this is a good transition point. So I have a question. Let's just rewind a little bit. So it's back in the early 80s, and I'm a young American kid. I'm watching Def Leppard on MTV, and you're playing this, you're crushing it with this Ibanez Destroyer kind of guitar.
Yeah.
You guys go away. You're gone for a little while out of the public con. You come back with Hysteria, and then you've got these Jackson guitars now all of a sudden, and you've been the Jackson guy ever since. What's that transition? Was that organic? How did you get to that stage?
That was organic. Actually, we were doing demos for Hysteria in Dublin, and Mutt Lang had this Charvel that Grover Jackson had sent me. And I picked it up and was like, wow, I actually couldn't put it down. And so he said, well, let me give you Grover's number, and that was it. And then Grover would design these guitars for me, and we'd done the PC1 very early on, and that keeps growing. It keeps changing. The necks get fatter. I have titanium stuff. They've always had DiMarzios on it. I've gone to an X2N, which is the most powerful DiMarzio, and sustainers, which is, we've used EBOs before, and so with the sustainer on there, all of a sudden you didn't have to hold the thing on there. It was like, it just would sustain forever. So it's made real jumps. And I've actually just got a brand new guitar for this tour. And we done a gig about 2 weeks ago in LA. We done a little Sirius XM. It's called the Garage, but it's about as big as where I'm sitting. We 75 people in there. And I've got this Jackson Telecaster that's got the fattest neck that they've ever made. It's got an ebony fingerboard. It's made from ash, and it's unbelievable. X2N on it, and I can't put that down. So yeah, I'm going to be using that a lot on this. So obviously the PC ones and my X-Stroyer, which is a Jackson, kind of like the Destroyer, but it's got a kill switch, 3 X2Ns, and it's just mind blowing. Again, big fat neck, but it's made of basswood, that one. So they're all different. They all do different things, and I use that for some of the Pyromania songs. So it's that's where it started, and that Ibanez still sounds great. I actually played it a couple of weeks ago, and it's and without sounding name dropping, we were in the same room as Paul Stanley, and he had his original Ibanez Iceman that's got all the blood on it because it was broken glass, and he would play it and he would just cut himself. So this guitar's got all this red that's soaked into it, and that's his blood.
Awesome.
So we someone took a photo. I'm playing this Ibanez Iceman, and he's got my Ibanez Destroyer. So both from very early 80s, these guitars. So that was actually really cool, and they both still great guitars.
Well, you touched on another point too. So you changed guitars, but then the tour for Hysteria is this, at the time, this kind of groundbreaking. You're in the round, which means you really don't have you don't have your back line because you'd be obstructing views. So what's that transition as a player? Now you're thinking, well, now my amp has to be somewhere else that I'm not. What did that process look like for you to have to deal with that? Was it easy? Was it hard? Did you like it? Did you already know how you wanted to do it?
No, the technology wasn't there. So we'd have isolation cabinets. I was using a Randall. I think it was an RG80, one of the little combos, or something. And that was mic'd up under the stage, and we'd have speakers all around the stage and monitors and everything. Awful sound, obviously. It was like, well, I had no idea we could hear anything. But it's technology. After that, we went in-ear monitors, which would have been brilliant for playing in the round.
Sure.
It was, I think it was outweighed because it was so much fun running around. I remember getting off stage every night and I'd feel like I was 85. I'd just really exhausted, but it was so much fun. It was 4 front rows, so you're right in the middle of it. And it's such a great experience. Now for this, another thing I forgot to mention on this tour, Rick Savage, our bass player, has gone on in-ear monitors. He was the only one that was holding out, and it was so much sound on the stage, like bass and monitors for the drums, that all of us, and cabinets blowing stuff out, although the rest of us had in-ear monitors. So I noticed how amazing we sounded as a band when we did this. I know it was only a tiny little club, but even in rehearsals, the playing, the dynamics, everything was so much tighter and cleaner, and the vocals were way better than they'd ever been. Like it sounded totally fake, but it's us actually singing because everyone can hear everything, and they're not getting, other noises like cabinets bleeding down the thing. So that's going to be something I'm so looking forward to. It's like we've never sounded this good, and so you go. Well, people go, well, what have you got to achieve? And it's like, well, this is brand new, so we can share what we do, knowing that we sound a certain way. So that's really exciting.
How did you modify or change your guitar setup for the road for the stadium tours? Did you have to do much, or was it pretty much the same rig you'd been using for a while?
Yeah, pretty much. The only difference is the pickup distances. I have them higher when we play live, and when we record, Ronan McHugh, who's our producer and our out front guy, is like, yeah, you're overloading it, and it's distorted in not a good way. It's like it's kind of clipping. It's kind of hitting the thing. So for recording, I tend to lower the pickups down because there's a lot of output, and they all of a sudden they sound a bit cleaner. But when you're playing live, it's kind of, I like getting, without going into full metal mode, I still have a kind of a British gain, I guess they call it, on a lot of amplifiers or stuff. That's what would be described as, and you know, you kind of load up with a compressor and all of these things. If I was playing an amplifier, it would probably be a 50-watt Marshall without the preamp, where you just kind of raise it to get kind of like the Michael Schenker sound that he used to have in the 70s and 80s. And I kind of based that thing on that. When I did the Pyromania stuff, I used my 50-watt Marshall that I had in my band Girl, and literally plugged that Ibanez Destroyer into it. No pedals or anything. So it was just, you're getting that clearer tone. So it's something you still look for. You know, I still think the best sounding Van Halen album is the first one, and that's the one that still really excites me. You know, Eddie playing like that, and it was just as the gear got better, I liked it less. I would get less excited about it. I just that first album was just crazy. I know it was noisy and all that stuff, but again, going back to the Schenker thing, you know, he had a wah-wah pedal, he'd have it cocked there, and it was just that. So those two sounds, a Marshall, you know, just kind of overload them, turning them up and that, and doing their thing. It's something I still kind of go for, even though it's a fractal at the moment. I use an Axe FX3, and I've been using it, and they keep updating software. It's incredible. So yeah, that makes a huge difference, I think.
Well, and to your point with the fractal, I mean, when you're playing stadiums, knowing you can just flip the switch on and get the exact same tone, regardless of the weather, regardless of anything else, that's what it's going to sound like in the next stadium too. I mean, that's Fractal does amazing stuff. I mean, they're great people too. So let me ask you this question, because as you survey the landscape, you guys go out and you do these massive tours, and you always bring great bands and friends along with you. And is it weird at this point in time now in 2024 to sort of look at the landscape of all the people you started with, or that came along while you were sort of at the peak, and see how few are left, or see where certain people have ended up? Is that ever a surreal moment that you guys are still sort of in the exact same place and so many other people aren't? I mean, for lack of a better term.
So our old manager who passed away, Howard Kaufman, had this theory, and he said, be the last band standing. He said, you guys are the best live band. He said, no one sings like that. No one actually really does all those vocals. We actually really do. We, like I said, you know, we rehearse, we practice, we warm up, we do all that stuff. We are a killer live band. You know, there's a blend, there's a communication between us. We jive and lock in and really kind of do all of this stuff, and it kind of, it makes a huge difference. And he would say, let's be the last band standing, because people are not prepared to put that effort in. They're not prepared to work out. I'm going to work out, and then I'm going to run through the set, standing up, singing. And people just don't do that. I do that kind of every day. And you kind of have to, especially if you're going to go out there and tour it. And that's the big difference. You know, a lot of people don't pick a guitar up when they're off tour. They don't write. They're not kind of exercising their brain and kind of, you know, pushing the spirit as far as it can go. And we do. There's a survival mechanism. There's a thing left over from our parents. You know, they were all World War II, you know, Blitz survivors. You know, my mum and Joe's mum. Joe's got this crazy story about his grandparents hiding in a aircraft shelter, and it's crazy. My mum used to go, oh yeah, well, you know, the German planes will be flying over London, and they would blow some of this stuff up. You know, a house would go, the next door neighbor would get killed, and all of this. So they have this really very strong work ethic. You know, my mum and dad had passed away years ago, but the value of that kind of working class and very survival thing, they taught us. So we kind of apply it to this, and it's not hard. It's not hard to try hard to achieve what you want to do when you consider the alternatives. You know,
it's unique to watch it from the outside as a fan and a friend. It's, you look at a group of guys that you have to acknowledge truly love one another in a way that a lot of guys at this level of the game have forgotten how to do.
Yes.
And given what you have been through collectively as friends, as a family, and still continue to, I mean, getting old, anybody getting old will tell you getting old sucks. Doesn't matter how much money or success, just getting old makes brothers of us all. So there's something unique and genuine still about all of the relationships in this band that I think translates to us on the other side of the stage. Is that something you guys are conscious of? Or again, is it, you've been doing this so long this way that this is just how you are at this point in time?
It is how we are, and we have been doing it for ages, but all of a sudden you notice it. You go, oh, and especially like we're having this conversation now, and you actually just said it. It's like, are you aware of it? And it's only when it's pointed out, and then you're really aware of it. And you go, wow, we naturally do it, which is something really special. But, you know, naturally doing it and then knowing that it actually works, and that's what you have to do. You have to kind of keep applying it. It never gets any easier. Like, you know, I'm like working, I hate doing push-ups, and they never, ever, ever, ever get any easier, but I still do them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same kind of thing. So you when you become aware of it, it makes it even more solid that you have to do these things.
Well, and again, at this particular point in time, you have to be cognizant that in many ways your group is the exception to the rule. I mean, again, we talk about all the bands you started with that were popular at the time. Trends have come and gone. The industry has risen to its greatest heights and collapsed to the streaming nonsense we have now. So when you look back on it, Phil, when you look collectively at the rock star part of your life, is it what you thought it would be, or is it better or worse in any way?
Both. It's different things. I mean, you know, someone was talking about the rock is dead thing, and I really do think that the rock star, the image of that, the poster of Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, you know, Mick Jagger, Michael Jackson, Prince, whatever, you know, that rock star image, there's not any new ones. So we're still kind of celebrating that. We're still celebrating. I just saw, you know, we were in LA the other week, and they've got all these great photos up, and they've got Hendrix, and they've got Bowie, and they've got like the classic Jim Morrison. And yeah, that doesn't, there's not any new ones of those. So we just kind of refer to this other stuff. So you have to be very careful that you don't fall into that trap of believing all the hype and stuff that goes around it. It's really hard work. It never gets any easier. And you don't think that just everyone loves you because you're a rock star. It's not that, you know. So you keep having to keep work at whatever you do, you know, as a musician, as an artist, and a performer. You still have to do that. That's the thing that gets me. It's you know, I don't really like going to award shows and stuff like that. I kind of feel a bit silly, to be quite honest. It's not really my thing. And so that's not really what's exciting about it for me. It's about creating music, creating a live show, being able to pull it off and sharing it with an audience. I mean, that's great. We still do that, and that's incredible.
Wow. It's just so, again, it's kind of beyond conversation, all of the twists and turns and the highs, the lows, everything that you have seen in this particular band. So one of the things I want to kind of wind down with, because we've touched on this a little bit, the relationships. Obviously, you guys are only as good as the relationships you have outside of the band as well. So when you look at this beautiful thing that is the community of Def Leppard, How much of that is also relative to your families and the people you have close that are sort of on the periphery of what you do? Is that play into this a lot as well?
Absolutely. You know, it's like yesterday I was helping my son who's transitioning. He's moving also out of California, and he's going to move in a house where his mum and her husband live. So it's like it's this big community. Me and my wife and my little boy Jackson. You know, we're here. And yesterday, my ex-wife came and helped me move his stuff. So we spent all day cleaning this apartment, packing stuff, like packing all this. So it's fine to do that. You know, you're helping someone you love, and everyone kind of gets in. So there's a definite similarity about kind of having a team. It's about the team, and we say this about the band, and it's, you know, and management, our tour manager, my tech, you know, everyone involved is part of this giant family, and it thrives and works when everyone's into it. We're really happy we have this thing. And Mike Kobe, actually, Jessica, and Jessica Squires is our tour manager, a female tour manager, and she's amazing. So, but we all work together and on every different level, and whether it's about the tour, about an album, it's about travel, about this and that, and you find that in your personal life, that sort of thing happens too. The teamwork when it goes that way is just phenomenal. So yeah, that's the thing I'd aspire to or try to.
Is it? Do you find, again, that time kind of makes brothers of us all? Like as we get older, is that always been sort of the attitude, us against the world, as far as the band is concerned, or was it something you guys had to grow into? Because a lot of bands are us against us, right? A lot of bands are competing internally, and some beautiful, wonderful music comes from that kind of competition. But you know, you mentioned the Stones. You've got obviously Jagger and Richards are at one another's throats. Every once in a while, you talk about Kiss, Gene and Paul. So you get the beauty of both sides, but it sounds like there's just sort of always been this intrinsic, well, we're all in this together sort of vibe with you guys, which is unique.
Yeah, but you know, having said that, Jagger and Richards are still out on tour together,
Yeah,
and you know, they're 80. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, I think that you learn as you go. I felt it was different in the 80s and 90s, and then we had a really kind of a tough period that wasn't in our favor. So you come out of that, and then you start thinking about that. It is us against the world, and I'm sure Paul and Gene absolutely did that. You know,
sure.
You know, we Kiss it, and not many people, you know, really say this or recognize it, man. That they're the world's biggest theater troupe. They created this, and I don't want to say brand, because they created these avatars that would work as this rock band, and they toured the world. They had this amazing show, and obviously they've stopped now. But I think at a certain point, if they didn't know that initially, they must have gone, okay, well, we have to keep this entity together. So, you know, Paul and Gene, despite, you know, each other's throats, secondary. Yeah, I'm sure everyone does it, brothers, whatever. But the bigger picture is that you keep the entity afloat. And I don't like saying brand, because it's not. It's way beyond that. It's
right.
Deeper and more spiritual than that, you know, than a brand. And certainly with them, you know, they created this monster that existed for over 50 years. And you know, we do a version of that. And I think, and the Stones, you know, they went through all this stuff in the 60s, the Brian Jones stuff, you know, Keith nearly dying and all of that. And they held it together. And it's like, wow, I think they realized how fortunate they were later on. And I think that's something that we definitely realized, you know, after going through a lot of stuff. When there was grown-ups looking after us, you know, management, people like Mutt and stuff, we were still fairly naive to a lot of things. And I think that at a certain point, the memo sticks and you get it. And that certainly happened with us. And we can apply all that thing I was saying about, you know, our parents and World War II and all of that. You apply all these experiences and stuff that you've had, and you go, oh, okay, I can apply to. You've got to keep growing. And I think that we do that, and I'm so grateful that we're still able to do that. You know, even like I said, you know, the fact that we're on in-ear monitors and then we sound different than we've ever sounded.
Yeah.
There's something new. So you keep adding to it, and it just keeps kind of growing, and that's what you want.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you a hard question. This is complicated. There's no right or wrong answer, but I'm just saying, I warned you. If you had the choice to never play one of these two songs again live, what would it be? Photograph?
Yeah.
Or Pour Some Sugar on Me? Oh.
So I prefer playing Photograph because I do like two big ass solos in it and the vocals but Pour Some Sugar on Me is the crowd favorite. It turns a stripper into every person who gets on, you know, whether in a bar or whatever. So you get that reaction. But I think that there's something about I like personally.
Yes,
like playing Photograph. Yeah.
Okay, so you would play Photograph and you'd abandon Pour Some Sugar on Me. I love it.
And I know Joe would say the opposite because it's really high to sing that, and when we lock in, and it's you know, and it was the first thing that the first album I was on, and it was like one of the first guitar solos I'd played, and it sounds great. So yeah, you know, it's having said that, I remember the whole thing about Sugar. You know, we were Mutt was trying to make a hybrid between hip hop, which was still called rap then, and rock music. You know, a bit like, you know, Walk This Way when Run DMC did it with Aerosmith. It was like, well, let's create a brand new song that's kind of like that. And you know, I remember just listening to all the stuff that we were trying to do, even the vocal meter. You know, you know, it's hip hop, it's rapping, and so they were saying very excited about that. So yeah, but it's hard. It's really hard to sing as well. It's hard for me, that backing vocals. It kind of strain my throat on it every time I sing it. So
that's the song that broke the world, right? I mean, that song is, again, it's like Thriller or any of the other, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody. It's like, it has its own ecosphere, its own identity, it means different things to every human that heard it. It's still relevant today. So you knowing all that now, you walked away from the recording session. Pour Some Sugar on Me, from what I understand, is one of the last songs, if not the last songs recorded.
The last song, yeah.
Did you know then? Did you have any idea what that song was going to be, that song?
Could have been. Like Mutt Lange said, yeah, we got this album, it sounds great. We needed this song on there. So, and it took ages. So the album came out, it actually tanked. We had 3 songs that, done okay, but not really. And there was like sneers and all this stuff. And people weren't that interested. Then that started getting played in Florida strip bars, and the girls started requesting it on their local radio station. I mean, that's really how that came about.
Sure.
And before you know it, it was like, well, how come this is blowing up in the Florida area? And it's like, well, that was it. And then it snowballed, and then it went to Toronto, I think, was the next city up in Canada, and then it just spread. It was like, and then the album went to #1 two times after that. So it was really weird, actually, what that song actually did.
Unbelievable. Yeah, you'd still rather play I love that you'd still rather play Photograph. I love with everything that song has provided you, that you're selfishly, as the guitar player, you're like, I'd rather play Photograph. Yeah, it's got a cool riff. Right? It's got the solos. It's pretty awesome. I would have chose the same song, by the way. I'm just saying. Just not because Pour Some Sugar on Me is amazing. It's just, if you're the guitar player, you're just part of the song. When you're the guitar player in Photograph, you are the song. So that's
and I think, you know, with Sugar, it's a better it's a better statement, and so much went into. We did it in 10 days, and you know, Photograph took ages, but it was obvious. It became obvious. Now Joe was sitting around playing on acoustic guitar, and Matt had this rhythm, and he said, "Well, you got any guitar?" And I was like, and he said, no, leave it so we can have the snare drum. So I went, and then all of a sudden it's like, and then they started singing over it, and it was like, wow. And the way it turned into this thing was really cool, actually. So very important song. love it. I think the song's better, but I prefer playing Photograph, if that makes any sense.
The good news for us is that you're going to play both anyway. So this was just
Absolutely.
hypothetical.
Exactly.
So we wind down, and you guys, whether you want to be, no one ever likes to be considered the elder statesman of whatever they do, but you guys are elder statesmen of rock. You've seen it all. You've again, highest highs, lowest lows, all done publicly, by the way. No privacy through any of this.
Right.
So as you look back and you see, it doesn't matter whether they're rock bands, pop bands, you see young artists. Do you think, I mean, it's hard to not be hopeful. I'm always hopeful. I'd rather choose hope over anything else. But when you see it, do you think to yourself, okay, if I could offer one or two pieces of advice, maybe try this, or do you find yourself in that situation, and what would that advice be? Because a lot of those people are listening right now.
All right, yes and no, because everything has, every empire has its cycle. The Roman Empire lasted X amount of time, blah, blah, blah. Classical music, same do it. It had a window after everything had been done. You know, you have Mozart and your Beethovens and Bach, everything. You know, it was really good. Everyone pushed the boat out till it had all been done. And I feel a little bit like that with popular music. You know, rock and roll when it came out. You know, big band. Then it went to rock and roll, and then it all came from the blues, and it kind of offshot. You know, it was funk. It was country. It was rock. It was blues got left behind when all these and then it was this pop music that, Little Richard was the first rock singer, I think. And I really, truly believe that. And hard rock singer. And then it just, Elvis, it took off, and then that influenced other stuff. Then you had the Beatles coming out and the Stones. Then you had Queen. There's a ceiling on it, on the creative thing. You can still make hybrids and that's great. But as an industry, it's been done. It's like you tour a certain way, you record a certain way, you advertise it a certain way, and that keeps changing. It was CDs. Now it's, you think the stuff next, and it'll be coming out. It's TikTok, it's YouTube, it's different ways of accessing the music. So it's all been done, and I think that there was something, as much as MTV broke us and made everything perfect for us, and it also killed the mystique. I know there was bands like Zeppelin, even the Stones, all of a sudden, they're everywhere. And when there was a mystique, there was a mystery, and there was those posters that I was talking about, the Jimi Hendrix thing. It was, of course there's videos and stuff, but it was a little more private. And I think I think it's all been done. So I'm still waiting for a new rock star or a pop star that's doing something different. I mean, there's some stuff out there that's really cool, but it's all, I don't want to say derivative. It's all been done to a degree. It's the same sounds, the same, you put it in an ear, you go, that's an 80s drum sound. Yeah. Well, that's a 2020s drum sound or whatever. You have these things. So there's nothing groundbreaking that's going to come out and do something so different. I actually think that in the 70s with jazz, when you had stuff like Chick Corea and Miles Davis actually pushing the boat out, you can only go so far. But I think they could have gone further with jazz, and where we're going, the country thing, and again, it's not really artistically great. It's more of a business agenda that allows the two within certain parameters, like rock, pop, and country and hip hop. There was a real big thing. You'd have basically a hip hop backing track with a country lead vocal over it, and people would go, "Oh, I kind of like this," and you get the best of both worlds. So that's the business doing its thing. So I think people notice that. I mean, when the first time the Beatles come out, the first time you saw the Sex Pistols, it was like, whoa, this is very different. And we're not really getting that, because everything's derivative and everything's kind of business agenda to the max. You know what I mean?
Yeah. From your mouth to God's ears. Hopefully there's some young folks, some artists out there getting ready to be dangerous. I think to your point, so. That's always my takeaway phrase is we need to put the danger back in the music. We need to make it dangerous. Go out there, plug in, make mistakes, fail miserably, sing out of key, do all those things you got to do. And live through it, and we'll live through it with you, and it'll be amazing. And I feel like that's one of the things that's made you guys so successful. Is I think all of us would agree we've lived through a lot with you, and we're grateful for it. And I'm grateful for you. I appreciate you taking time out today. I know you had many other more important podcasts. I'm not going to name drop, but very, very established, world-renowned places vying for your time, and you still had a few minutes for us. We're just grateful. We love you guys. We love you. We're very appreciative of everything that you do for music and have done. And we wish you and yours the best in everything. We're supporting you 100% all the way forward any way we can.
Thank you so much. Perfect.
Have a great day, my friend.
You too. I'll see you in Chicago.
Hey, you heard it here second because I told him first. You just watched me do it. I'm leaving now. So this is the end of the podcast. As I always like to joke, you can leave the bathroom and go back to work now. You've wasted enough time. So wash your phone and your hands. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you next time on the next version of the Sound Horizons podcast, as long as there is one. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.